sparking people's ability to know that they can create things immediately through improv, and that improv is such a healthy way to play and such a healthy thing that you can do. And that's really been my thrust for the last little bit, is encouraging people to improvise.
Ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Vato.
Welcome to Paul Vato Presents, where my guest is Lincoln Hoppe.
Hello.
A very talented actor. He's an improviser, voiceover artist, and improv teacher extraordinaire. And I think all true things, and it's not just about because you have to say yes and, but I think all those things are true. Lincoln, welcome.
So good to be here, Paul. Great to see you on the screen and everything. This is wonderful.
Thank you. It certainly is. I'm really enjoying recording the shows here on Fireside, which is, I think, an amazing platform because everything is recorded. It's here. It's saved. I can download it and then re-upload it. We can simulcast. I think right now we're simulcasting to YouTube and to Twitch. You can also do it to Facebook and LinkedIn if you have a streaming key and whatnot. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And I did interview your partner in crime, Eric Artel, as well already. We can probably talk a little bit about that and Improv Wizards and your history in improv and all that, because I met you guys on Clubhouse, and you guys are two, I think, of the top improv instructors and teachers. But you have, of course, your own acting careers, and this is about you, not Eric. So welcome, buddy.
So good to be here. And I love talking about improv. I love talking about acting. So all these great things. So very exciting for me.
Wonderful. Where should we start? Should we start way at the beginning? Your history, where you're from? Maybe we can touch on that. I always like to find out if, your parents had anything to do with how talented you are, or, was it just support? Was there no support? Are they in the arts? Are they actors or things like that? So if we could just touch base a little bit on that and then catch us up to, what you're doing and where you're performing and where people can see you and things like that. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, my dad is from Germany. He came over after the war, escaped from East Germany, and was a businessman. So no arts there. And my mom was a dancer, and other than that, I kind of found my own way to the arts through them just creating a really, I think, a good open home environment where we were allowed to try things and we were allowed to kind of find what we liked. And so I was kind of the first one in my family who went off into acting and music. But I mean, I credit them for establishing a house where that was an option, And then they were very supportive after that. It was always like, are you sure you want to do acting as a career? Because it's so unstable. I was like, I'm pretty sure. And so they're like, okay, we'll have how we can. So that's how that started. I grew up in New Jersey. I was born in Chicago. Yay, Chicago.
Improv.
Yes. I grew up in southern New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. And so I went to high school. All my schooling was there in New Jersey. Then I went to Brigham Young University for college, and went on a mission for my church. Went to Portugal, and then I came back, and I saw. I actually liked a girl, and this girl invited me to an improv party. And I was like, that sounds fun. I mean, I didn't even know. I was like, what's that? Had no idea what improv was. This was, gosh, it had to have been in 1992, in the 1900s, gang.
In the 1900s.
Right?
Yes.
So I went and we played freeze tag for about 3 hours. I'm sure you're familiar with that game, freeze tag. And I'd never heard of it.
Is that what you call it? You and this girl? Is that what you call it? Playing freeze tag?
No, it was a group of people. There was about 8 of us, maybe 6 to 8. I can't remember exactly. but good one though. So we played, and then the next day I went to, because I was doing a lot of choir and singing classes, just because I like that. Again, nothing for career, but I came across in that arts building a flyer for an improv troupe, an improv and sketch comedy troupe that was forming. And the auditions, I think, were the next day. And I was like, I know what improv is. I've done that for 3 hours. So I showed up. I went and showed up and auditioned, and not a lot of people came. And I was enthusiastic and maybe I had some natural ability. I don't think I necessarily did, because I was a very shy, introverted person. But I just kind of rode the train of let's try this out, and got in, and that changed my life forever, for sure. I've been in improv groups for the last 30 years as a result of that, continuously. If I didn't have one to be in, I usually start my own. um, and been doing. I mean, I've done thousands of improv shows. We did for 8 years. We did 4 shows a week practically, and then of course all the other shows. So lots of improv. The improv is what got me into acting. So I started auditioning for films and TV in Salt Lake City, Utah, and booked a bunch of national shows, co-stars and recurring roles out there. Promised Land, um, Touched by an Angel, some other movies of the week kind of thing. Then I moved out to LA, and I booked things like Everwood and Scorpion and Mentalist, and just, that's been my purpose, is telling, uplifting people's lives through telling stories in film, and as well as sparking people's ability to know that they can create things immediately through improv, and that improv is such a healthy way to play, and such a healthy thing that you can do. And that's really been my thrust for the last little bit, is encouraging people to improvise. I've got my film acting career here, and my pushing, like getting people to do improv here, like getting people to try it and experience it, because a lot of people are afraid of it. I was terrified of it. After I learned what it was, after I got up on stage and was like, oh my gosh, I have to get up on stage, and I was already in the troupe. It's like, I have to get up on stage and make stuff up, like these games that we've been playing, but now there's an audience. Like, that terrified me. But it was too late, because I was already in the group, and it wasn't terrifying enough that I dropped out. But I was kind of tricked into it by this girl. So I understand that a large percentage of people are afraid to jump into that. And I really like helping people ease themselves into improv, or people who are stuck with their improv, people who haven't progressed for the last 10 years. And as you know, Paul, it's possible to kind of do the same, either in your acting or in improv or in any creative art. You can hit a plateau and not move on from that plateau. And it can be really important to kind of figure out what's holding you at a plateau, or what the plateau is, and move on from that. So I really enjoy sharing with people ways that they can jump out of that, and really stay healthy through doing creative activities like visualization and improvisation, that kind of thing.
That's amazing. Well, I hope after that litany of TV roles and movie roles that you mentioned, that maybe your parents will one day go like, oh, maybe the acting is for him.
Yeah, they've been very supportive all the way. My father passed away a few years ago, but I already done so many roles that he was so proud of. I play, because of my face, and I do German accents as well, and several different kinds, as well as being able to speak some German. I play German soldiers, German scientists, German engineers all the time. And it was a really fun process for me to call them up and say, hey, they didn't translate this line very well. Can you give me a better translation for it? And so we worked through some of these roles, in this movie that I did called Saints and Soldiers Airborne Creed. Almost, I think 90%, 98% of my dialogue was in German. And so he and I worked quite a bit through it. And he and I were both really proud of that when that came out. I guess, it's been almost 10 years now. But it was a really great opportunity for him to see that I was having some really great success. as well as be able to enjoy helping me and watch the product afterwards. So it's been really fun.
Well, that's wonderful that you were able to make him part of this process. Yeah, because I'm sure then after he watched it, he was like, "Oh, that was my line," or "That was something I helped him with," and really cemented home that this was that you were on the right path and this was the right thing to do. So that's wonderful, Lincoln, that you were able to share that with your father. And I would love to see it. I saw the cover of the poster, the movie poster for that movie, and I was like, "Ooh, this is something that's right up my alley." So I'll have to check it out. And then
It's
also,
it's
what's that?
it's a great film. I mean, I'm also one of the co-writers on it, but it's really seeks to pull out. It is a war movie, but it's more about the people in it rather than the combat. There is some really good combat scenes. It's got minimal blood and gore, like really minimal. They were really shooting for a PG rating at the time, so it's something, but it has a really uplifting message, which we don't always get with war movies, and sometimes they do, but that's really one of the nice parts about it. So I do recommend it. It's called Saints and Soldiers Airborne Creed, and yeah,
Wonderful.
check.
Saints and Soldiers, Airborne Creed. Yeah, I'll definitely I'll look for it. Is it? I'm guessing it's streaming somewhere, maybe Amazon
I
or
think
any
so.
of the.
It always bounces back and forth. Yeah, the box office, it did okay, but then it really, like, it sold out of DVDs in the first 3 months. Like Walmart carried it immediately because it did well enough, and then overseas it sold extremely well. So it's got to be, they bounce around on streaming platforms. I'm pretty sure it's either on Amazon Prime or on Netflix right now, but they do those in little bursts. So
Wonderful. And you mentioned something else which I thought was pretty enlightening and funny, that your first experience with improv after the freeze tag, and you thought yourself already an expert after 3 hours of freeze tag, was that you showed up. And I think a lot of times it's just showing up. You were enthusiastic, you showed up, and then somehow you wound up on the team without even realizing that, hey, I'm going to have to be on stage at one point. So that's amazing. I think that's something that people should take away from that it's sometimes just showing up, especially as actors. It's incredible to hear that sometimes you get an audition and you don't even submit, especially now that you can do it from home. It's like, wait, how's that happening? A lot of times just showing up, and you're more than halfway there. So congratulations for going out of your comfort zone and showing up. And I was about to get into improv in like 92, 93, but I ended up buying a business and then put that off. Well, I was going to get into stand-up. I didn't know the difference. So finally in like 97 is when I started driving into Chicago, because I'm from the Chicagoland area, which must be why we're great improvisers, because we're from Chicago, the mecca of improvisational comedy. So
love it.
yeah, I showed up at the Improv Olympic and did not know the difference. I thought that they were going to teach me how to do stand up, so that was quickly put aside. And then I was like, well, teach me what you teach, and we'll see.
And what was your experience like of kind of not knowing what it was like, and then like being in a class? What was that like for you?
Well, it was. I remember it was maybe the weekend before. I don't know if it was on a Thursday or Wednesday, and they said, "Well, if you're going to do this, you should watch as much improv as you can." And I was over like an hour outside of the city, and I had this gourmet ice cream and coffee shop, which is famous in the Chicagoland area, called Owwll Dairy. I was in Geneva, Illinois, and I grew up in Aurora, Illinois, Wayne's World. So, my time was somewhat limited, but I was like, well, I've committed to this, so let me come back. And on Monday nights, they had a show called the Armando Diaz Theatrical Experience and Hoot Nanny. Now they just call it the Armando Show, which is, monologues and the Herald based around that. So I went to go check it out on a Monday,
Love that.
and it was life-changing. I was like, how did they do that? Like, I couldn't process the callbacks and things. I'm like, well, there's got to be a trick to it, but I don't know what it is. So that's really, then I was like, forget stand-up. This is what I want to do. And I still remember, I think the monologist was Abby Shackner, and she talked about, her father being a dentist in Ohio. And then the people creating these scenes around her monologues. I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, how did it tie in together? How did this person end up over here at the end? So it was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But I didn't have a theater background at all. Like, I wrestled in high school. In college, I studied business. So this was way out of my wheelhouse. And but I just kept showing up and studying improv, and then maybe, I wasn't even ready, but I'd shown up, and I remember because I was wearing shorts, and because I was just gonna go watch a show, and Sharna, the owner, she was like, somebody was missing from a team. She's like, "Are you ready to go up?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not even dressed right." So I just started making excuses. She's like, "All right," well, she goes, "It's up to you," but I go, "Do you think I'm ready?" She goes, "Do you think you're ready?" I'm like, "Yeah. Let me do it." So it was kind of like trial by fire. I think my show was scheduled for the following week, but a team that went up was someone short. So she threw me up with them. And I just remember, I think I had the outline, which was like chitty chitty bang bang. And I still remember it. And the crowd laughed. And I was like, okay, I kind of get this. I'm really good at this. But, of course you're not. And, the audience was being very forgiving. And then next week, then I actually was my official launch date on my improv. But man, that is so many years ago. This would have been like 97, 90, back in the 1900s.
I love it. Love it. It's so interesting too. Like a lot of people, they're afraid of improv because either it's been, I mean, it's the fear. Improv is the fear of the unknown, right? It's like it's that fear of being up on stage, whether it's in a class or whether it's in front of an audience, and just not knowing what's coming next. And the funny thing is, the more improv you do, like literally, the more you show up and the more you practice, the more you realize there is nothing to be afraid of, because we'll make it through somehow. And the more times you do it, the more synapses are able to fire and get you through. But a lot of it is just that confidence of like, I could go up on stage and do a physical activity like space work of washing dishes for 30 seconds and not even have to say a single word, and could make it interesting with some emotion or just how you do that space work. And so many people are afraid of like, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? And that's the fear. And so that's one of the things that I think is just brilliant about learning improv, is just the more you learn, the more you're able to do, and the more confident you get, and the more you realize it's not that hard. It really isn't. But you do have to show up and put in that time, even if it's practicing by yourself, just to get used to it and build up that confidence.
That is amazing. And to know really that you and I never maybe even having improvised together, or with any of these celebrities that are legit improvisers, Tina Fey or Dave Keckner or anyone that comes out of the improv schools, and then to know that we could step on stage with them and not be lost, and just know that we can go toe to toe with them and do a great show, have a great show, because we know the same set of skills that we both know. I mean, to me, that's also pretty amazing that you can step on stage with somebody. I did it at an audition with this young lady, and I mean, we're just auditioning for something, and it was a bad audition because the casting director or whomever it was like, I want you guys to improvise. We're like, great. And I asked her, I go, have you studied improv? And this was, I think, over Zoom. And she was like, yeah, I studied at Second City or whatever. And I was like, got it. I go, me too. So we both like instantly knew that we had each other's back, and that, not a fake thing like, oh yeah, no, I can make stuff up, no problem. And but then the casting director started giving us everything. Okay, you two are married, and you're sitting here, and you're doing this, and we're both kind of looking at each other, going like, just let us go. Come on, open it up. And so, because we talked about this afterwards, I found her on Instagram and we chatted. And I go, what were you thinking? She goes, I was just going to tell them to shut up and let us go. And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. So we didn't book it, but it was refreshing to know that even as an audition, such a helpful tool, whatnot. So improv is great. Now, we did have a message from one of our producers. Wait, I think I lost the message here. But your movie is available I saw Tubi, Peacock, and Amazon Prime, and I think there's another one. So just search for your movie. What is it? Saints and Soldiers?
Saints and Soldiers, Airborne Creed. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm
Perfect.
also
So
in the first Saints and Soldiers movie, but just one scene. And I got killed off so fast they brought me back for the second one as a different character. But I love too what you said about being able to step on stage with Improv Greats. That was a great opportunity that I had where Dave Foley from the Kids in the Hall, from News Radio, from so many things. I don't remember. I'm sure I could ask a few friends. I don't remember how this show came to be, but I was in a show with Dave Foley, and I remember thinking, this, and I told you before, like I'm an introvert. I'm not disposed to getting up and like entertaining people, and I kind of remember sitting there and thinking, this is Dave Foley. This is one of my heroes. Like I just finished watching News Radio for like the whole show for like the second time, and just being in awe of being able to be on stage with him. And then exactly what you said clicked in and said, "Hey, I'm an improviser. I've done this for so many years. I've probably done more improv shows than he has." And that I, with just kind of thinking it through, gave me that permission to say, I don't have to, defer to him in any of these scenes. We're co-creators in the scene. And I think that's what made that experience so fun and so rewarding for me. And I actually have a recording, I think it's on my YouTube page, of one of the scenes that we did together where, I mean, I may have even been a little overbearing, but it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to do a scene the way I would normally do a scene. And he was great. Like he was able to go with every twist and turn, and then he would throw something at me and I was able to go with it. And it really, really reinforced exactly what you were just saying of when you're experienced and you're trained, and maybe even more than anything, when you've got that confidence, you really can hold your own with any of these greats. And I've come to note too that there were several times I've played with some other pretty big improvisers earlier in my career where I was deferring to them, and like, was that a good choice? What do you want to do in the scene? Was kind of my thought, and I think that made it less enjoyable for both of us.
mm-hmm.
And when I just learned, working with Dave in that show, that if I'm just do my thing and I throw out those bold choices and I take his bold choices when he made them and just went with that and just did the improv, just yes anded, and there was no deferment of, well, you're a bigger star than I am. It was so much more entertaining for probably for him, and certainly for me and for the audience as well. So that was a great experience for me.
That's such a great example. When was this? How long ago was this?
Maybe 10 years, ago. I can't remember how long after. The video is up on my YouTube, and my YouTube channel is just my name, Lincoln Hope with 2 P's.
Wonderful. Please find that.
So it's up there. But again, yeah, it's probably been 10, 15 years. It's been quite some time. I've grown a lot as an improviser since then, but even at that point, it's funny to note that I had to go through that stage of thinking, what do I do? Do I defer to him? Do I just go for it? And like, it was a great experience for me to just go for it.
Amazing. And did you see that they have a new sketch show, The Kids in the Hall, like 2022?
I watched the first episode last week. Yes, it is crazy. Like, have you watched any of it?
No, I just saw it yesterday. I mean, I saw it on Amazon Prime, and of course, I watched a couple of World War II things. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go check it out because I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, I was like, wait, why do they look different? I'm like, oh, because this is from this year. It just came out. So I have to go check it out. It was
always edgy, but I'm telling you, it says nudity in the warnings at the beginning, and you get to see a few of the cast members full on for quite a bit of time, which I was very surprised by. So just warning there.
Thank,
If that's your thing, there you go.
thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
But I was like, whoa. And in its own way, it was hilarious, but maybe too much at the time for me. But good for them, right? I mean, they've all got to do a bunch of other things, but yeah, that was just something that was really nice for me to experience. The
Amazing.
Working with Dave Foley, not as much the nudity.
Understood. Understood.
Just
That is wonderful. All right, I'll have to check it out maybe for the nudity and not so much for the copy. Amazing. You touched on, I mean, coming from, being a performer, and then when did you start Improv Wizards, or maybe where did you meet Eric, your partner in Improv Wizards? How did that come about?
Yeah, so Eric and I met like 25 years ago. We met, and I introduced him to improv, as he tells the story. I didn't remember introducing him to improv, but I'm always talking about improv. So, but he and I actually came out on our first exploring trip to LA from Utah. We both came out, and he pretty much, when we went back, he packed up and left and went to LA, and I stayed for another few years because he was single and I had a wife and kids already. But we met in an acting class, and just in that Salt Lake City film market. And when I moved out here to LA, I live in LA, and we of course reconnected really quick, and I formed an improv group with Kirby Hayborn, another great friend of mine. We formed that sometime in I think 2003 or something like that. It's been a long time, but we formed that, and then Eric was one of the first people that we called in to join us in the group. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, Eric and I started thinking. I mean, he came first to me with the idea and said, "Look, there's a lot of people who don't live in LA, who don't live in Chicago, who don't live in New York, who don't have either good classes near them or don't have any classes near them." And we started talking about like all the emotional and mental benefits of improv, as well as actors who want to come out to LA or to New York or Chicago or any of these other markets, Atlanta, wherever it be, who could really get a leg up by doing some training. So we started off by doing at first just on-demand online courses only, where we taught all the basics, and then we taught things like how to never go blank on stage, where to go when you can't think of something to say, and how to save a scene that isn't going well, as well as teaching a bunch of games. So we basically created this course and started selling that online, and then we did it before the pandemic. When the pandemic started, it was like, this is perfect for people. So that really helped us to get the word out to people, and because nobody could go to an in-person class, so that was really helpful. And one of the things that we heard so much that applies to pandemic or not, is that there's a lot of people who either wouldn't want to admit it, but they're afraid to get up in front of people and make stuff up because they're nervous, they're anxious, they're introverts, whatever it is, they're nervous about that. And this fits the bill of being able to practice a lot of those basic skills. There's not everything you can practice by yourself or with a roommate, or with someone in your family, because the course helps you to either do things on your own. There's a lot of things you can do on your own. Monologues, for example, responding quickly to yes-anding one-line prompts, retorting really quickly. Like there's a lot of drills like that, creating characters. There's a lot of things you can do by yourself that I didn't even realize was possible until we started thinking, how can we do this? How can we make a course that's online and on demand? So we really found a lot of creative ways to be able to help people to do a lot of those things on their own. But then entered COVID, and then suddenly it's like, oh, now we can do Zoom online classes and all those kinds of things. So now we do a class which is a hybrid, which is you get an on-demand library uh, basically delivered one module a month, but then you also get 2 classes a month, and you get replays of the classes. And what we do, so if you join later, you'll have a library of these replays of classes. And what we do in the classes is we give you a lot of these prompts where for example, like a warm up, like brainstorming warm up, we'll say, okay, everyone's going to brainstorm. And even live in class, we do this. We do it with, the microphones off, where everyone can say, all right, you're going to do a chain brainstorm, which is like a free association. You're going to do a chain brainstorm. You've got 30 seconds. The word is table. And then we go silent, and everyone does it. So even when you're watching the replay of the class, you can play along to most of a lot of the different warm-ups, as well as some of the exercises, and some of the stuff you're just watching other people do scenes, but you get to learn just as if you were in class. So that's called our membership masterclass, which has been really, really helping a lot of people so far. So we're really proud of that, because it combines that on demand as well as the in-person Zoom classes. And some people are too nervous to get up on camera and do it. They just watch the other students, and then they ask questions in the chat. So it really is helpful for a lot of those kinds of people who aren't quite to that point. But then it's really great for the people who are like, oh, great, more stage time for me, who
Sure.
want to be on camera. We get to put them up more and work through more of those exercises and stuff. So that's been really, really fun for us.
That's amazing. And I take it they can find all this information at improvwizards.com.
Improvwizards.com. That's exactly right.
I think it's such a brilliant idea because it is ever changing and evolving, but there's always the basics. And, even I didn't realize, the importance of practicing improv maybe on your own. You always think that you need someone else. But I like that you guys have developed a way for people to practice this.
This is maybe one of the most damaging things that I believed, because no one was teaching otherwise, is that I have to wait until I'm up on stage in a rehearsal or in a class. Now, there are some things that you need to have other people for, but there are things like details and specifics, fanning the flames, advancing and expanding a scene. All these things, details and specifics, you practice that on your own. I do that. I go on walks a lot for exercise, walks and jogs and stuff like that. And so when I'm on the walks, because I teach people to practice on their own, I make sure that I do it myself. And it's amazing, like 5 minutes on your own can be more powerful or more intense training of doing a 5-minute practice on specifics and details than you would get in a 3-hour class, because you're only up on stage for, maybe 10, 15 minutes of the class if you're in a 16-minute class. But the beauty is that you can practice all these little muscles like specifics or emotions on your own. Then when you go into class, or when you go into your group, or when you go into your show, you are so much stronger. Like those muscles of details and specifics, those muscles of using your emotions, those muscles of being able to respond quickly to a prompt have all been exercised in a way that lets you focus on what the teacher is walking you through at the time. So you're less nervous, you're more confident, and you're able to focus on the improv that your teacher is giving you. So it's really just a win-win. And so I wish that 30 years ago when I started doing improv, I knew that I learned something in class and then break it up into little pieces. Like, again, I keep using the example of the details and specifics, but it's just such an easy thing. Like if you find that you're not describing things well, like I do a lot of role-playing games and stuff, and details and specifics are really handy when you're doing a role-playing game, to be able to describe things. Like instead of I take out my sword and I stab the guy, it's like I reach down, I grab my hilt, which is cold, and I pull it out, and there's the sound of it scraping across the scabbard, and I put the tip of my blade to his chin, and I say, "Try me." Whatever it is, it really can help for that, as opposed to just, I threaten him with my sword. It just makes for more interesting shows and more interesting role playing. But you really can practice so many skills like that. In fact, most skills of improv you can practice on their own, and then you're better when you put them back together and you're up on stage doing it with people. So that was, for me, that was the biggest revelation I had between starting Improv Wizards with Eric and COVID, just realizing there's so many things that I can practice on my own, and seeing myself get better at doing them just by practicing them on my own like that. It's been really fun.
Amazing, amazing. And not to mention also then the proliferation of social audio, Clubhouse, because I know you guys are doing great things on Clubhouse. And sure, you might use it somewhat as a funnel to get people to your program, but the things that you're doing, and I think even before you had your master class, uh, you or mastermind, you were already doing it on Clubhouse. So you're giving away all this amazing information, and sure, it's early, but early bird gets the worm, whatnot. But it's great to see you guys using social audio to do that, and I'm sure that with COVID and everything, I mean, really, I think exploded uh, the acting, the improv scene, because we couldn't do anything. We had to be on social audio, and so you guys were making some major contributions to that.
And it's so great for people. So I teach on there every Saturday and Sunday, and it's early, like you said. But it's great for some people who just are terrified to turn on their camera, and they've found that I can turn on my microphone. I can do a scene without being seen, and it just helps them like think, okay, now I can do scenes without being seen. That's only a small step to do scenes with my camera on a different on Zoom or here, whatever it is. It really, I believe, for anyone who thinks they can't do improv or acting, if you realize you really can break it down into little pieces, it gets so much easier. And so it has been really helpful for a lot of people. I'm really, really happy with that.
Well, I think it's more difficult to do it without being able to see you, because now you're solely going on inflection. I've got to try to get the same thing across as opposed to me walking on stage angry. Now it's got to come across as with my voice, and it really does force you to listen. We used to do this show called The Bat, which was done in total darkness. It was basically what we're doing on Clubhouse. So I like the social audio aspect. And I mean, if you can do it on social audio, the other step, like you said, baby steps, the next one is turn that camera on, and then you're home free. My goodness. Are you kidding me? That is amazing. But it's great the way you've broken it down. And I could see someone that has never done it because they're shy or like, oh, I could never do that. Just make them up and then on stage, that it would actually motivate them to start doing it. Can we talk a little bit about the price on that? Is there a monthly fee or?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, what we're doing our introductory, because we just started it this month, just in May, so last month, but halfway through the month. So it's $39 for the membership, and that includes, you get 2 modules right away from our flagship course, Becoming Improv Wizard, and then a new module each month. And these are about 10 to 20-minute instructional modules, plus play along videos, where we give you a prompt and then you respond. It's like a virtual scene partner where you do get to practice some of those things alone. And then we've got the 2 classes a month that are also included with that, which are on Zoom, as well as being able to go back if you miss and watch those classes. So even if you're not able to make all the times, you still get to get the instruction as well as play along with quite a bit of the stuff. So yeah, right now it's just $39, and it's a steal. It's a steal. But that's our introductory pricing, and it may go up. We're not sure when, but it's really great for people who want to learn improv fast, because we've got the modules as well as, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's Q&As that we've done. We're adding stuff every month, as well as we're doing interviews with other improvisers. In fact, we should probably get you on there and interview you, and you can tell us about your improv experience on there sometime too. And that could be something for our upcoming podcast, as well as our members.
Wonderful.
Members get to come in and ask questions, and all kinds of fun stuff like that.
I would love that, but that is actually such a great deal because, and I don't even know what now classes are going for, but I would imagine it's $400 or $500 for 3 months or 4 months. So
Right.
I'd rather do this $40 a month, and it's
Yeah.
on, and yeah. So I think
Now,
that is
our classes are shorter. It's not a 3 hour class, it's an hour class, but we get right to it. And it's still, I mean, it's essentially, if you just ignore everything else, it's still $20 a class. But when you start adding in all the other, the archive of classes that's going to be growing monthly, as well as the modules, the full course that we offer is about $350. So you're getting that as well, within installments each month. So it really is a great deal.
That's wonderful. And not to mention the people that you're going to meet, which might become your fellow improvisers, fellow teammates, when you put together your improv group. Yeah, it makes me miss it and want to go back to the Barrio Speedwagon days. And yeah,
Yes.
I've always liked a good improv name. So this is wonderful, Lincoln. Thank you so much for spending all this time, folks. If you're here, by all means, thank you so much also for being here. And know that this is also on replay, so we can always come back and listen to it. And I will download it. And if you're in the audience, if you're listening to this, please find Paul Vato Presents either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and give us a like, give us a follow. I would really, really appreciate that. And of course, find Lincoln. If you click on the little fortune cookie there, you'll see that he's at Lincoln Hope with 2 P's and an E, .com and improvwizards.com. Or you can go to paulvato.com to find all of my information. So Lincoln, what's next for you? Can we see you perform anywhere, or is it at Improv Wizards? And where, are you performing anywhere coming up? Any projects that we should be looking
Well,
for?
I'll say this. I have an improv group called the Society Comedy Troupe. It's societycomedy.com. We have a show this weekend. Unfortunately, we've got COVID in my house, so I won't be at the show, but some Eric Artel, included, as well as a bunch of other really great film and TV actors, are doing that. That's this Saturday. And if you go to societycomedy.com, you can see all of our upcoming shows, because we also do Zoom shows for people who don't live in LA. So we do Zoom shows every other month. And I was in a movie that Vince Vaughn wrote, where I got cast to do a one-line part for the first scene of the movie. Turned into a whole bunch of scenes, because he found out that we could improvise. And so we did a whole scene. Who knows what'll make it into the movie? I don't know if I can announce what that's called, but keep an eye on Vince Vaughn and an upcoming movie at the end of the year. And I'm in that, and hopefully they kept a bunch of our improv, because that would be super fun. But he was crazy fun to work with. I'll tell you that. That was really, really
Hey,
fun.
Chicago boy. Well, he studied in Chicago and came, did the whole swingers thing with John Favreau and whatnot. So he's a great improviser. Yeah, he's a lot of fun to work with. That is for sure.
And that
Okay.
seemed to be his writing style too. Like he had the script and he would just throw out new lines to us, just throw out new lines. It's great.
Amazing. I love it. When you can talk about it, let me know and we'll get it out there on social media. Or if you don't mind, you could always come back and we could do a follow up. Or I'd love to have you and Eric on together as well. I mean, yeah. And if you guys want to use this platform for anything, I think that's another just another venue for you guys to spread the gospel of improv.
It's new to me, but I'm really like, yeah.
Everybody, let's give Lincoln Hope a round of applause. Thank you. And I love that. I love that there are reactions here. And if they ever get to be too much, we can always silence them. But it's great that it laughs and claps and all that. So, Lincoln, any final thoughts, any final words that you'd like to leave our audience with? And again, 1,000 thanks for doing this and being a pal and coming on and sharing some of your story with us.
Absolutely. I guess my final thought would be get out there and create something, whether it's making a video, whether it's just doing some improv games, making up a monologue, playing games with your family, playing online games. Games are so important. Playing is important, and games give us a structure in which to play improv games. Uh, a play is a game, right? It's a game where we're making believe. I think it's so important for people's health. I love doing it. I love sharing the inspiration to improvise with others because I really do believe it's so good for your health and for your creativity. And heck, if you're brave enough, film yourself doing it and post it. I just did a TikTok video, which was one of our Improv Wizards prompts, which is up to 4 million views now. Where I just posted the first 10 seconds of one of my improvs that I just filmed because of an improv challenge for Improv Wizards. 4 million views in the last 3 days.
Amazing,
So
amazing.
share that stuff. Share yourself with other people through your creativity. That's what I'd say.
Wonderful. And I'll have to have you back because also the importance of social media, which Eric and I, really touched on because he is obviously also big time in social media. And I saw some of your stats, which is something like, over maybe now over 100 million views, maybe, almost 1 million followers across your social media, but over 100 million views. I mean, it's insane the power of social media. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
And we
that.
can use it for good or for bad. And I think it's great to just share that process of creativity and humor. It's so important to me. People need good things in their lives right now, and I think we can provide that entertainment, but we can also do our own creativity, which is so important.
That's wonderful, amazing. Well, I want to thank everyone that was here. I want to welcome Steph Clark, who is my next victim. Interviewee. At about 12:30 p.m. I will be chatting with Steph, who just popped into the audience. But Chris, thank you for help with the behind the scenes, adding where we could find LincolnHope.com and ImprovWizards.com and Society. Was it comedy? SocietyComedy.com. So thank you, Chris, for all your help. And Jonathan, thank you for being here. And Jimmy and Patrick and everyone. So Lincoln, my friend, thank you again so much for being here. And I look forward to doing this again. And it's wonderful to not just, hear you on Clubhouse, but to be able to see you face to face, almost IRL. And I really hope that we get to work together in the future, because it would be an honor and a pleasure for me to get to work.
Me too, Paul. I agree with everything you just said. So true. Great to talk to you, and best of luck, and let's work together soon.
I can't wait. Thank you, my friend. And there it is. All right. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye, everybody.
Bien ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Owwll, make way for Vato.